Sonic's been having a nice run recently, hasn't he? Or Shadow, I mean. It is his year after all. He's got essentially a whole new game coming out for himself, and they're putting so much effort into the marketing, like it's actually insane. And for the record, I love it. They should keep doing that. We also got the movie coming out, and that seems to be amazing. The Sonic the Hedgehog franchise just seems to be doing really well so far, and I just hope it continues to lock in. And since it is the month of October, aka creeps and scares, I thought it'd be nice to look at some creepy or more so disturbing things in the Sonic lore. I'm gonna be avoiding, creepypasta and EXE guys. This is not the video for that. I'm just gonna be mainly sticking to main Sonic lore with the games and comic books and such. With that being said, when it came down to finding what was the most disturbing thing in Sonic, I had a multitude of things to choose from, especially given recent Sonic games and comics and the like. But to sell the feeling of actually being disturbing, I'm gonna be focusing on things in Sonic that were disturbing to me as a child. Let's be real, things are a lot scarier to you as a child, either by the events or the implications of said events. Obviously, as someone who's basically 20, I can say that this stuff doesn't really faze me that often, but it's nice to go back to a time where I didn't know any cliches or repeat plot points, a time when Sig could actually pull the rug under me and I'd fall. Now, if you're a Sonic fan, you probably know most of these, since some of them were in the usual top 10 scariest things in Sonic that were made in like the 2010s, but this is my version. This is the 2024 version. This is my video. So, let's get started. Sonic CD. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. For those unaware, there's a sound test you can access, and if you input specific values, you can get a variety of illustrations of Sonic characters. They can range from cute images of the Sonic game doing funny stuff, to buff Sonic, to the infamous fun is infinite screen. I'll only explain why this is scary, just look at this, and we can get the main bullet points down first. Number 1, this theme was supposed to be a bit more goofy since it was made with the Japanese soundtrack in mind, compared to the US version, which seems like it's about to grab into the depths of hell. The thing that made it scarier was the text, which translated to "Fun is infinite at Sega Enterprises," and it was signed by Majin, which made everyone who read this back in the early days think it was Satan, when in reality it was a nickname of Masato Nishimura, a developer for Sonic CD. Well, I got a question, why the fuck your nickname would be Satan? Now that I know the context regarding this scene isn't that scary, but the younger Noodle was shitting her pants. I don't know what you guys do when you see something scary, but here's my rules. If it's a jump scare or something, I'm jumping on my chair and doing an immediate tiger drop combo, but if it's something that's just scary, something that's unsettling, I just stare there frozen, taking it all in even if I don't want to. There's something unnerving about something that just lingers. It doesn't jump at you, it just stares at you like it knows it's scary, and it doesn't need to do much to actually get inside you. Let's move on. The story of Gerald Robotnik and the raid on the Ark has always intrigued me in terms of the events that occurred before, during, and after it. We know what happens during the event. Maria gets blasted by gun, everything regarding Project Shao gets taken down some black ink classification documents, but it's the after that always got to me. Gerald, a scientist whose granddaughter got shot and killed in cold blood, dives into insanity to get revenge upon Gun and the world for taking his beloved from him. Now saying that in itself is, wow, it's kinda messed up, but it's the way it's presented that always creeped me out. In both Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic X, we see the tally marks made by Gerald showing his growing insanity. It's a small thing that isn't brought up heavily in the game, but Sonic sure as hell notices it, and it's weird. Why would this need to exist? And then we get to his recording. Now it's not that scary nowadays, but think about it in the mind of a young kid, used to these models of Hedgehog and funny Eggman, and you get this high-res illustration of a dude in chains with a bunch of equations written in the background. The build-up to this scene is crazy too. If you ever want to scare me, just throw warning signs and sounds everywhere. What's going on? The music is ominous, characters are going, oh, we're so fucked, and you have the gun soldiers ready to execute this man.
Is there anything else you want to say? No. Ready!
It was so surreal to me back then, and most of all, it was just creepy hearing the old man talk.
All of you ungrateful humans who took everything away from me will feel my loss and despair.
Well, why is he in chains? Did he try assaulting the guards or something? One thing I'm glad Sonic has kept consistent is the vibe of Gerald Robotnik and what happened after the Ark. This is something that's supposed to be unsettling, seeing a scientist that was once devoted to saving life quickly switch to ending life. And I'm glad with Shadow Generations coming out, we have more scenes depicting the creepiness of Gerald and his unstable mindset. I'm looking forward to that book. I know the Sonic movie is having Gerald be alive in some form, but I do hope they still apply some creepy/horror elements to him. Maybe he pretends to be chill with Eggman, and then instead of ruining the world together, he instead does a 180, reveals his insanity and says he's gonna destroy the world instead or something. The movie is going for its own take, and I respect that, and I'm just interested to see what they're gonna do with it. Okay, now switching to something that's more direct disturbing instead of indirect, I have the Sonic X Halloween episode. It's the one where ghosts take over the characters, and they create very scary scenes that haunted my dreams. Amy with a hammer. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this. It was disturbing to younger me because imagine seeing this in the dark. I would. What makes it all the more unsettling is that it's characters that you know. Back to being serious, the Echidna Tribe's collapse. This isn't really something that's heavily detailed, it's pretty simple. They fuck with Chaos in an attempt to steal the emeralds because of a shitty ass war or something, and most of them died with Knuckles being the last one alive after centuries. And we don't see Chaos like ripping an Echidna in half, but the implication is clearly there. I was always under the impression that pretty much everyone in the Echidnas died during this conflict with Chaos, but some of them at least need to be alive to make Angel Island birth Knuckles or something, but it's just so odd that he's the only one alive outside of Sonic Chronicles. The movie version of Knuckles actually goes this route of just having him stay home when everyone leaves and dies, and I don't know, that always made more sense to me. I always pictured the entire Echidna Tribe going after Chaos and Chaos using his water fleshy tentacles to eliminate all of them. Being honest, it was more sad than disturbing, but the visualization of a tentacle monster literally murdering your entire tribe, you're like, oh fuck! You could totally make a short film detailing the actual brutality of the scene and what it could have been like for both the Echidnas and Knuckles shortly after. Okay, this one isn't disturbing, but it could have been disturbing, and I feel like putting this one in. Sonic Forces. I'm still disappointed in this story almost 7 years later, and listen, I was a big Archie's fan back then, and I absolutely loved the war setting and what it did for Sonic and the characters, and I thought that was going to be the vibe here. It wasn't. While there are many things that are underdeveloped or have potential, I just need to mention the Sonic torture for 6 months. It's been in my mind for years. I know it wasn't in the Japanese script and was added for the American version, but fuck me, this was an idea. Now, I don't care if you personally think Sonic was masking or some shit to hide the fact that he's been tortured. You can do your headcanons in the comments, but to me, this had so much potential to be disturbing. And I'm not saying Eggman should have killed him or some shit, or made him have scars from being tortured, but I wish we had something small that was shown to imply how disturbing it was to have Sonic captured by Eggman. I'm just throwing ideas out here, but imagine when we see Sonic again, there's like a monitor showing the chaos and destruction Eggman's been doing, and it's basically to imply that Sonic has been forced to see this for 6 months. He doesn't need to be depressed or sad. He could be angry and seething with rage, but trying to hold it in. I'm not a writer, of course, but I can recognize when something was in the process of being cool, but just stopped midway for some reason. I'm just disappointed with the story and how much potential it could have. Now, I'm completely biased here since I'm, again, coming with experience from the Archie comics, and those had years to flesh out its war setting and the like. Imagine if roboticization was in the game. That would make Sonic being captive actually the most scariest shit ever. That's like death and having your free will taken away. Okay, I'm getting the fanfiction territory. Let's move on. Now, hear me out before you call me stupid. Big the Cat. Yeah. I know he's the scariest character in Sonic, but I think his scariest appearance is in Sonic Adventure 2. In case you're blind, in almost every level of SA2, Big the Cat is hiding somewhere, just doing whatever he feels like. He could be running from a truck, fishing, or staring at you. Now, most of these are harmless and pretty funny, actually. Like, yes, Big, run with me from the giant truck, but also, while you're running still, that truck is gonna get you. If you actually mash A during some of the cutscenes, Big appears like a fucking cameo, that's genuinely absurd. But then there are cameos that are just a bit off, specifically the ones where he's behind something or staring at a direction that just so happens to be where you're going. He's sometimes behind a wall, in a locked cage, in outer space, but he seems to always have his eye on you. When I was younger, my curious mind wondered, why was he stuck in these locations? Why was he in prison? Why was he trapped in this cage? Why is he trying to get out of this wall? It was reassuring that I wasn't alone in the stages, but knowing it was Big made me slightly more uncomfortable. And being real, the lighting also made this kind of scarier. I'm not sure if this is an SA2 battle thing or not, since it did change some lighting, but Big's eyes are very glowy and the most visible part of him. In a more dark lit stage, his eyes pop out in the most uncomfortable way imaginable. You stay behind that wall, damn it. The Big the Cat cameos aren't directly scary, but it's the implication that gets you. The term implication can always make things that are seemingly nothing into something that means more than it really should. Big's cameos, the Echidna Tribe wipeout, but there were two things in Sonic that really pushed this level of how much implication could go for me, and that was the ending of Sonic 2 Game Gear and Metal Sonic. The Game Gear version of Sonic 2 is pretty different from the console version with unique zones and a slightly altered story. The premise though is that Eggman has kidnapped Tails, and if Sonic doesn't get him the Chaos Emeralds, he'll do something to Tails. So you have a simple choice. Do you want to get the good ending or the bad ending? For the sake of the video, let's just say we suck at the game. If we don't manage to collect all the Chaos Emeralds after we beat Silver Sonic, instead of reaching the final zone, we cut straight to the credits with a somber song playing as Sonic keeps on running. As the sky darkens, Sonic looks up at the sky for a moment and sees Tails' silhouette. Now, I do not care who you are. I don't care where you are. I do not care when you are. You look at this scene and 100% you are thinking,
oh my god, did Tails die? Oh shit. Oh shit!
You ever watch JoJo? I'm not gonna spoil anything, but if you die, your soul is sent to the skies above for the main character to see and scream. Obviously, it's an implication. It isn't confirmed per se, at least I don't think so. And in the good ending, both of them are shown in the sky, so maybe it doesn't represent death after all. But it clearly made a lot of people think so because there's been creepypastas made about the specific ending. Now, Metal Sonic in itself is kind of scary. Imagine being in the dark and seeing someone you think is Sonic and you see the glow from his eyes and you're like, oh shit. It actually reminds me of Sonic.exe. I mean, they both have a similar thing going on, but the whole idea of Metal Sonic was that it's simply Sonic, but a robot instead. And correct me if I'm wrong because there have been different interpretations of the character, but Metal Sonic himself is based on Sonic, so he in part thinks he's Sonic. He thinks he's the better one, like some liquid and salt snake shit, that he's superior to his inferior twin, but he knows he's not the real one. I would bring up the Metal Virus scene because everyone does that, but for the sake of this video, and considering it's titled Disturbing Things in Sonic, I want to focus on an aspect I don't think is talked about that often regarding the character of Metal Sonic, the OVA. Now in this iteration, Metal Sonic is completely based on Sonic. His mannerisms, part of his personality, and his actions are exactly the same as Sonic, to the point that we get this iconic scene.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you since I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it?
It's a funny scene, but it also shows how they're exactly the same. This gets pushed even further when Sonic is unable to save these two guys I forgot the name of, and Metal Sonic instead saves them. Despite Robotnik's programming, it was still based on Sonic, meaning it still has its core values of being a good person, even if it's muddied over being a dick and killing Sonic. This culminates in the final scene where Metal is being left to die in the lava, and Sonic's like, bro, take my hand, and Metal's like, there can only be one Sonic, and he dies. This scene always messed me up growing up because of the implications of the scene. Metal Sonic verbally rejects Sonic's help, and it always made me wonder why Metal did this. Now I may be reaching here, but the idea that always got in my head was that Metal Sonic was Sonic in a way. He would do things Sonic would do, and that was made pretty clear through actions. So wouldn't the same philosophy apply here as well? If the roles were reversed, would Sonic do the same thing? Say there's only one Sonic and accept that he's the inferior one? There's 100 different character study videos or articles that you can read on Sonic, and I'm not going to make any assumptions on the guy, we aren't that close ever since 2017. But for this version of the character, I always felt that this was the movie's indirect way of showing Sonic's deep thoughts, the ones he doesn't really showcase publicly. Because there's no reason for Metal Sonic to do this if he wasn't based off of Sonic's entire personality. He's a robot built by Eggman. I'm sure one of the priorities inside him is stay alive and kill Sonic, and he denies both. He could have taken Sonic with him to die, but it was Sonic's spirit that overtook the programming, I think. Was any of that confirmed? It's not exactly creepy or disturbing in the way of, spooky, but with what I've said about implication, it's disturbing in the way that shows a different side of Sonic. One that could potentially be true or not. One where Sonic is willing to off himself if it means there being only one Sonic. I was definitely overthinking it back then, but I don't know, maybe it was intentional of how much they wanted to show how samey the two Sonics are. And also the movie is full of visuals and songs referencing lookalikes and similarities and how they're the same. And I don't know, I feel like I'm getting the FNAF parallel territory now. Ugh. And that's everything I can remember what I found disturbing in the Sonic lore, back when I was a child at least. I want to keep it more limited to my childhood just to make it more relatable, and you know, as an adult now, things don't really faze me like they used to. I was contemplating including the Metal Virus thing, but like, everyone's done that, so I just want to be a bit more unique, and that came out during a time when I was a lot more older then, so it didn't really make me... It's still the spooky month, so expect like one more spooky video before we get back to the regular Noodle broadcast. Usually, like in these bits, they would put like something like YouTube would put like a jump scare or something like that. But I'm kind of tired. October's kind of a busy month, so yeah, I'm out. See you next time. Flashlight.